Okay, we're in the middle of page 14. Has the number 3 down there. This next part is factoring trinomials completely. Okay, when you have a coefficient in the first term. And so we're going to start out, if you go back and think about how we started this unit, what do you do first? You always look for a common factor, right? So if you look here, yeah, you'd be able to factor this down, but you need to make sure if you do that you pull out common terms. Okay, so let's start with pulling out a common term. If you look at the 3, the first thing that we have in common is a 2, and that's it. So we're going to pull out the 2, and then you have 4m squared plus 4m minus 6. Oh, sorry, not minus 6. Whoops. Forgot to reduce it by 2. Alright, so minus 3. Okay, so if we look at our terms now, okay, we factored it out, can't factor out anything else. We don't have a difference of 2 squares, we don't have a trinomial squared, so now we're just factoring. So we know this is going to break down into 2 binomials. We're going to put our 2 at the front. We know there's going to be an m. Okay, now we look at our factors. So our factors of negative 3. Okay, factors of negative 3. We got 1 and negative 3, and we have negative 1 and 3. And our factors of 4, we got 1 times 4 and 2 times 2, right? So now, how are we going to put this together that when they're put together, they're going to be 4? So we know that we need, let's see, if we just kind of look, if we do 4 times 3, that's 12, that's too big. And then 4 times 1 is 4, and 1 times negative 3, that'll just give us 1. So that won't work. So the 1 and the 4 are gone. So let's look at the 2. So if we do 2 times, we want a positive, right? So we want 2 to be times the positive 3. So 2 times positive 3 gives you 6. And then the other 2 times negative 1 will give you negative 2. And 6 and negative 2 gives you 4. And that's what we're looking for right there. We got 4 in the middle, so we're good. Alright, so we want 2 times 2, so 2 and 2 in the beginning. And then we want one of the 2's to multiply times 3. Now it doesn't matter which one because they're both 2. So we'll put plus 3 there, and then that'll put our minus 1 right there. And there you go. We're done. Okay, so we factored out our 2, and then we factored our trinomial, and we found the factors that multiplied to be 4, and then the other ones multiplied to be negative 3. Okay. All right, so let's keep moving on here. On page 15, well, I guess that's all the practice I'm giving you there. Okay, on page 15 we have some try these. So see if you can give it a shot. You know the steps already. You start with finding a common factor. You pull that out, and then once you've done the common factor, okay, you look for a difference of 2 squares. If you don't have that, then you move on to trinomial squares. If you don't have that, then you just factor it like we've been talking about, right? Okay, so always start with the greatest common factor, and then on these it's just going to be factoring your trinomial. So give those a shot. Okay, so the first example here, we have 3x squared minus 21x plus 36. And hopefully you noticed right away that the common factor there is 3. So when we pull that out, you're left with x squared minus 7x plus 12. Now here's the cool thing. Okay, they didn't give you any coefficients in the first term. It's just 1, right? So all you got to worry about is the last term. So 12 breaks into what? We got 1 and 12, we got 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. And when we put those together, we need negative 7. So let's go, the only way you can get a negative and a positive when you multiply and negative when you add is when they're both negatives. So which ones add up together to be negative 7? That's going to be negative 3 and negative 4. So let's put them in. 3, and then we have x in our first term in both of them. And then we have negative 3 and negative 4. Okay, that made it pretty simple. That was a good easy start. Alright, let's look at the next one. We got 9a squared minus 15a minus 6. Okay, if you didn't run ahead, if you needed to look at that first one, that's fine. Try and pause it now, see if you can do the next one. Okay. Alright, so common factor is 3 again. So we have 3a squared minus 5a minus 2. Okay, and so now we're going to factor. So we have 3, and we know that we have 2 sets of parentheses coming. And the factors of negative 2, we have 1 and negative 2, or negative 1 and 2. And we have 1 and 3 is the only ones there. So how are we going to put this together that it multiplies to be the right numbers, but then when you put them together it comes out to be negative 5. Okay, well, the only way you could do this, if you got 3 and 1 is 3, 1 and negative 2, that's negative 2, so that would actually subtract and you'd end up with 1. So we got to make sure that we do the 3 and the 2 together, and we want it to be the negative 2 because it's negative 5, and that's going to be the bigger term, right? Because 3 times negative 2 will give you negative 6, and 1 times 1 will give you 1, and that turns out to be negative 5. Okay, so we have 3a and 1a, or just a, and we want the 3 to multiply by the negative 2, so we're going to put that right there. Okay, and then that means we'll put the plus 1 over there, and we are good to go. There's your answer. Alright, let's keep moving on. Okay, we have 4a squared plus 2a minus 6. Okay, when you look right there, you should notice right away, common factor is 2. So you get 2a squared plus, we're just going to put a, but it could be 1a if you wanted to, and minus 3. Okay, and this time we have 1 and 2 as the factors. We have negative 1 and 3, and 1 and negative 3. Okay, this is a lot like the last one, only this time we only have a 1 in the middle. So we actually, remember we ran into this problem last time, right? We want the bigger term to be positive, so we'll go with the 3 being positive. So let's cross that guy out. And we want the 3, we want them to subtract, so 3 and 1 should probably multiply together. 1 times 3, and then the 2 times the negative 1. That'll give you 3 and negative 2, which will give you 1. Okay? Now, some of these you're just going to have to try. Okay? I know they're sometimes it seems a little confusing, but you're just going to have to give it a shot and plug them in and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to put in the first ones. We have 1a and 2a, and we know that we want the 2 to multiply by the negative 1. So we're going to put minus 1 there, and we're going to put plus 3 there. Now don't be afraid to just kind of give them a shot and plug in some numbers and hope that it comes out right, and then erase or put it off to the side and do it again until you find the right answer, okay? Last one, we have 6m squared plus 15mn minus 9n squared. Okay, common factor 3. We have 2m squared plus 5mn minus 3n squared. Okay, now don't let the extra variable throw you off. Okay, just put in your m and your n and your m and your n. Don't let it throw you. Okay, we know we need 1 times 2, and we know we need 1 and negative 3, or negative 1 and 3. Okay, now again we need positive 5 here. We already did this one, right? Okay, we already did this. We know that we need the 2 to multiply times the positive 3, and the 1 to multiply times the negative 1. So let's put 1 and 2 in there, and then we want the 2 to multiply by positive 3, so we're going to do plus 3, and then we're going to do minus 1 there. Okay, well that's all the notes we have for this one. Hopefully you followed along and hopefully you got it. If you are having some problems, you can go back and look it up again, rewatch this, go back over some examples, rewatch the last video, ask your team, you can ask me, whatever you need to do. This is a pretty difficult part, so make sure you're going back and really trying your hardest to figure this part out.